Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm glad that you found us here on YouTube and have joined our tribe of survivors, post narcissist, or I guess there's a lot of people out there that are still with the narcissist and they're trying to figure things out. So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. I think the more people we can gather here, the more messages we can get out to the people that need it. So today I want to talk about fighting with the narcissist, which is, all relationships, all couples fight. But when you're fighting with a narcissist, it is so different. and that's something to really help a lot of people when they are in a relationship with a narcissist. And I mean, a lot of people still have to continue to communicate with them because they've got kids with them, or they're going through a divorce, or they're at the end of a relationship, or wherever you are in your dynamic with the narc, fighting is going to take place. And everyone wants to win the fight, right? Everyone wants to get that apology saying, yes, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm wrong, and everyone, I think, wants that kind of satisfaction. But the thing that you have to realize with the narcissist, you will never get that. That's not winning a fight with a narcissist, because that will never exist with a narcissist. They will, or it's very rare, or the only time that you will hear that is because they've got some other scheme or plan going on for something else, So when you understand what they want and where they're coming from and what they're after when you're having an argument, if you understand them, it helps you to win the argument. Now, I want to say straight off, the winning of a fight with, like a verbal fight with a narcissist is not their apology. It's you have won the argument when you were able to convey your opinion or whatever the situation was and come out of it without them getting any fuel from you. That is winning a fight against a narcissist. So how do we do that? Well, if you remember that their mindset is always to control you, control the situation. They always want to be right. And they want you to submit to them and to follow them, and they want everyone else to be wrong, them to be right. When you know that they are just after control and after fuel with everything that they do, and you already, if you go into any argument or any situation with them knowing that they're only after control and they're after fuel, you can move forward. But remember, narcissists need positive fuel and they need negative fuel. They prefer positive fuel, which is, what happens during the love bombing and everyone's praising them and just loving them. That's positive fuel. But negative fuel is what they get from you when you guys are in a fight and you're arguing about something. And remember, they're drinking it up. And they almost, towards the end of the relationship and during the devaluing stage, they're enjoying the negative fuel that they're getting from you, and they're getting it from you when you guys are fighting. So you want to cut them off from that fuel source. So when you're talking with them and say, okay, for an example, my narc was always, he was horrible at logistics. It was not his forte. And not everyone is good at that, but it was always a problem whenever we had to travel. He didn't think things through about the time it would take to do things and, the most efficient way to get from point A to B. I mean, it was always, I had to always have to step in and explain to them how, their way of thinking about things was wrong and mine was right. Now I'm good at logistics. I travel a lot, and I have traveled my whole life. So I knew, the most efficient way to travel and how long it really realistically takes to get somewhere. Like if we had to take a trip somewhere, I swear to God, he would just cut that time in half. I'm like, well, what, are you going to drive 300 miles an hour to get there? Like, how is that possible? And I think a lot, not to say that, but I think a lot of men do that. They're so unrealistic with the timeline. Anyway, so when you're like, say you're having a discussion or argument or a fight about something like that. Now, if you know that you're sound in your argument, but if you go into it knowing that they're a narcissist and they're trying to get negative fuel from you, and they're trying to just control you and win, and well, the first thing that you have to do when you're talking about something, like if you talk like you're mad at them or you're yelling, or that's fuel. So you don't want to do that. So when you're talking with them, it's got to be always like such monotone. Your voice doesn't go up or down. And the more blank that you can be when you're talking about something, and like the more you can almost like just not even care what their opinion is or what they think, because it's almost like they always want to change your mind about something, even if they don't agree with it, whether they, think the same thing or not, they're going to start a fight because that gets fuel. And remember, that's always what they're after. So, yeah, be completely blank, monotone. Don't let your voice go up or down. Don't have any really feelings or conviction with what you're saying. Try to almost be like, even though you want to do the opposite, try to be like that. And absolutely, the number one thing is don't defend yourself when you're talking with them or having a fight with them. Don't defend, because any kind of defense is fuel. If you say, well, like for whatever situation, just don't. If you're sound in what you say, you won't need to defend. You can just drop it there. And that will drive them absolutely mad, because they're expecting your defense, and that's what they want, because that is fuel for them. So don't defend, don't apologize for yourself. Still stay true to yourself, but don't defend yourself. And like, I can remember, it's very hard for us to do that though, because we want to defend ourselves, because we're always being attacked. And, with a normal person, you can eventually get your point across and they will eventually agree with it. But just remember, with a narcissist, that's just never going to happen. Ever. Because a narcissist, I have to remember, the narcissist doesn't like to see you confident either, right? So don't be all confident with yourself, so overconfident with your conviction. Remember, just be monotoned. Nonchalant, doesn't matter. Just be vague, long pauses when you're talking with them. Because if they see you being overconfident, that's just going to almost challenge them to come at you harder. And remember, this winning of this argument is not about them bowing to you. It's about them not getting fuel. So you don't want to make them want to fight harder. And if you put yourself overconfident in whatever you're doing and saying and wanting, that's just going to get them to rise to the occasion. Well, a challenge to get you to get mad or get you to, and if you truly want to win against them and want to get your way, say, if you're in a sorry, trying to think, I'm trying to put a scenario where more people can relate to it that need to talk with their ex. So if you are divorced and you have kids with them and you still have to talk with them, and say you want your kids for the weekend, and you have to have a talk about, I want the kids on your weekend, and you want to try to get this, you're trying to win this. if you really want to win and have your kids for that weekend, this is the approach that you would need to take. If, like, don't give them any fuel. Don't be emotional with, because, like, that gives them fuel. If you're emotional with them, they'll drink it up. The negative emotion is something that they'll drink up because that's all that's left, right? You're not going to be giving them any more positive fuel because that's gone. This relationship's kind of over. So, but if you want your kids that weekend, you've got to, don't defend yourself in all the reasons that you want this. Have long pauses, absolutely monotone, and let them just give up. And just kind of, because when they see that there's just no fuel to be had here, that's when they give up, and that's you winning, right? So do that. So, but not all narcs like fighting. Mine was a very, covert narc. He wasn't very fiery and fought all the time, but he played the mind games in the arguments and the fighting. Made me feel really bad about myself, thinking that I was always wrong. I had to hear him talk about how everyone else was wrong in their way of thinking. And he knew that I would think the same way as those people. There were things like that. And I really wish that I knew that he was a narcissist while I was in the relationship. Boy, I would have done things so differently. But I know now, and I know how to recognize the fact that when someone's just trying to get fuel out of me, and I think there's, there might be even a lot of guys out there, couples that are fighting that are trying to get fuel even when no one's a narcissist. Almost, they have a little bit of those traits. So that's my, this was an important talk, I think, because it's something that we all end up doing. We all fight, all couples fight, but when you're fighting with the narcissist, you've got a whole different set of rules, because they're not, and you have to know because they're not playing by regular rules. So you have to know their rules. And just remember, I think, to like close out this talk, is winning an argument, winning a fight against a narc is not them apologizing to you and saying that you're right. And, they're going to say, I'm sorry, you're right. That's not winning, because that, with a narc, that's never going to happen. Winning is you being able to get what you need to say said and your point across without them getting any fuel. That's winning. So I'll end it there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate you guys joining here and our tribe on YouTube as we all move forward post Narcissist.